When we use anticoagulant drugs, subtherapeutic effects of these drugs can result in thrombosis and thromboembolism. On the other hand, with over anticoagulation, same drugs can result in different bleeding complications. So we need to understand different properties of these drugs for better outcomes and to avoid bleeding complications. In this section, we will discuss pharmacological properties of different anticoagulant drugs, including pharmacokinetics, mechanism of action, and reversal of anticoagulation effects of these drugs. We know several factors contribute in formation and maintenance of blood clot. After vessel injury, first platelet plug is formed at site of injury. Then activation of coagulation pathways results in production of fibrin. Fibrin polymers strengthen platelet plug and result in formation of blood clot. So these two systems promote formation of blood clot. Then natural anticoagulation system results in inactivation of activated clotting factors to avoid widespread clotting. Similarly, natural fibrinolytic system helps to keep necessary size of blood clot by dissolving it if needed to keep patency of blood vessels. So these two systems, anticoagulation system and fibrinolytic system, limit formation of blood clot and dissolve it if needed. Antithrombin, protein C and protein S are important components of anticoagulation system. These proteins inactivate activated clotting factors that limits formation of blood clot only to site of injury. Coagulation system has two pathways. First pathway activated after vessel injury is extrinsic pathway, also called tissue factor pathway. Second pathway is intrinsic pathway, also called contact activation pathway. Both these pathways result in activation of factor 10. Activated factor 10 converts prothrombin to thrombin. Thrombin then converts fibrinogen to fibrin. Fibrin polymers then strengthen platelet plug and result in formation of blood clot. We can see factor 10 and thrombin have central role in coagulation pathway and many anticoagulant drugs act through these two factors. Now let's discuss different anticoagulant drugs. Unfractionated heparin was first anticoagulant drug that was clinically used. Unfractionated heparin is actually a heterogeneous mixture of polysaccharide chains that have variable molecular weight and variable length of chain. Molecular weight of these polysaccharide chains ranges from 3 to 30 kilodaltons with average molecular weight of around 15 kilodaltons. To be functionally active, heparin molecule must have a unique pentasaccharide sequence. Antithrombin 3 binds to this pentasaccharide sequence of heparin molecule. Unfractionated heparin is not absorbed after oral administration. And due to variable size of heparin molecules, absorption after subcutaneous injection is also not predictable. So, for predictable therapeutic effects, unfractionated heparin should be given by intravenous route. Even after intravenous injection, unfractionated heparin is highly protein bound and is readily picked up by macrophages and endothelial cells. These cells metabolize unfractionated heparin to smaller molecules, so unfractionated heparin has a short half-life. For these reasons, for adequate therapeutic effects, we need to give unfractionated heparin by continuous intravenous infusion. Anticoagulant effect of heparin are mediated through its effects on antithrombin 3. Antithrombin 3 is a natural anticoagulant present in blood, and it inactivates several activated clotting factors including factor 10 and thrombin. It inactivates other clotting factors as well. When this naturally occurring antithrombin binds to heparin, it results in conformational change in antithrombin. This conformational change significantly increases ability of antithrombin to inactivate clotting factors. So anticoagulant effects of heparin are mediated through potentiation of effects of antithrombin. Activated factor 10 binds to antithrombin and it results in inactivation of factor 10. In contrast, for inactivation of thrombin, thrombin should also bind to heparin molecule. For that, heparin molecule should be of sufficient length so thrombin can bind to it. After antithrombin and thrombin are bound to heparin molecule, it results in inactivation of thrombin. So anticoagulant effects of heparin are mediated through antithrombin. Ability of antithrombin to inactivate factor 10 and thrombin is significantly increased in presence of heparin. Antithrombin can directly inactivate factor 10, but for inactivation of thrombin, thrombin also needs to bind to heparin molecule. In unfractionated heparin, all molecules have enough length, so all heparin molecules that inactivate factor 10 can also bind and inactivate thrombin. So ratio of antifactor 10 and antithrombin effect in case of unfractionated heparin is 1 to 1. As unfractionated heparin has short half-life and variable pharmacokinetics, so during treatment with unfractionated heparin, we need to regularly monitor its therapeutic effects. This helps in achieving adequate anticoagulation and can help to avoid bleeding complications. Activated partial thromboplastin time is usually used for monitoring therapeutic effects of unfractionated heparin. It measures effects of heparin on intrinsic and common pathway. Heparin dose is then adjusted based on its effects on APTT. Anti-factor 10 assay can also be used to monitor therapeutic effects of unfractionated heparin that measures effects of heparin on factor 10. Unfractionated heparin can be used for most conditions that require anticoagulation unless its use is contraindicated. This includes prophylaxis of DVT in medical and surgical patients and treatment of deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. It can also be used for acute coronary syndrome, acute limb ischemia, and as bridging therapy before a surgical or other invasive procedure. However, due to its pharmacokinetics that require intravenous infusion and its side effects, nowadays unfractionated heparin is not routinely used. And it is mainly used when immediate anticoagulation effect is required and when a procedure is planned. In this case, heparin infusion can be stopped few hours before procedure and administration of antidote is not required. When we discuss side effects of unfractionated heparin, bleeding complications are one of main risks associated with its use. Due to its unpredictable pharmacokinetics, regular monitoring is required to prevent this complication. Other adverse effect of unfractionated heparin is heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. This results from antibodies to platelet factor 4 and heparin. These antibodies result in activation of platelets, and main risk in this situation is thrombosis and not bleeding. So we need to give preferably a non-heparin based anticoagulant to prevent arterial and venous thrombosis associated with this condition. If reversal of anticoagulant effects of unfractionated heparin is required due to its short half-life, only stopping heparin infusion may be enough. However, if rapid reversal is required or in case of bleeding, protamine sulfate can rapidly reverse effects of heparin.